record prayer as well. Eh? So Heavenly Father, thanks that we can come here again today. I pray just the most, at least, well, Lord, you know what's most important, but for me, I think what's most important is that everyone here as they're working feels encouraged and they feel bold to try things. And when all the mistakes that have to happen end up happening, that I pray that they will just still continue to feel encouraged and also humbled in a way that remembering where they are, who they are, and that, yeah, it's always a process learning our that we have to walk through. And so as we all sit here, and may we feel a sense of celebration and excitement when things work, and also a sense of remembering just we are just humans when we have little mistakes that happen, and to enjoy the whole process. Lord, I pray that they'll really have a sense of not waiting till something works well before they begin to have fun, but we have fun even during the times where things flop on us. So in your name, Jesus, we pray. And yeah, it'd be cool, Lord, Holy Spirit, to help us apply those sort of ideas to all of our life. Makes the journey so much more enjoyable. All right, amen. Let me get onto the right page here. All right, so here's my little guy, and I can see him over to the side here as I'll be painting. I think I'm gonna keep the view, well, maybe I'll change my view here so we can also be able to see. I'll try and set this up so we can also see what it is that I'm mixing as well. There we go. Okay, so as I go, again, as I'm painting, I start with the light areas and I work towards the dark. So first, of course, I need to establish my colors. And definitely, I will be using Payne's Gray in this piece, especially on his stripes. But I don't want to make it predominant. It's just my own personal preference that I love. I like color. And so I enjoy bringing color in there. So I'm getting my Payne's Gray established. I'm going to go ahead and drop, I always keep my smear. I'm going to have some real light areas, so I'm going to drop some color in there right away. I sense a little bit of the purplish in his stripes there, so I'm going to add some water to my smear of purple because it's going to be very light, and that purple can get so dominant so quickly and overpowering. So let's go ahead and get this purple mixed up. Get my Payne's Grays, my very watered down one here. And my bold, rich one, get that established. Again, my own personal preference, but I always like a nice, bold, rich blue in my dark areas. So I guess my Prussian blue there, I'm gonna get that ready to go. But also get my light smear ready to go.
So you paint the subject first, and then you do the background?
I tend to. I don't know if I'll even use this background. Like I say, I definitely would never start with my background. Because, you know, people didn't come take a look at my picture to see the background. Just like you'd never go to a play just to see the set behind the actors. But that doesn't mean the set's not important. But that's secondary. So
can I show you what I'm painting, and so you can see why I'm
actually. Yep, that's how we're doing it here. So let me switch my view.
So here's
okay.
Here's the image.
Yeah.
And see, the background is pretty much a part of it. It's not just
Yeah.
a picture of a dog. It's a picture of a dog at a windy beach with his ear flying.
Right. And what's really cool about this, and what stands out to me right away, is the brown in him is being like especially in his ears and up in his face, and he's got those brownish spots. That's totally being reflected in the sand. And then the light blue and all his shadows, like around his shoulders there, and the left side of the shadow side of like his neck up into his head. That really has that blue. It's really reflecting the blue of the sky, but that's now also being reflected in the blue of your background. Okay, so this is a case. You're right, and your background is very important. Whereas in mine, the background is so secondary, I can even come up with a totally different background. So what you're going to want to do is actually be painting them at the same time. That's what I would be suggesting. So when you have your blue, whatever blue you end up with for the water, use that same blue, even though if it's not as exact, and in the end you can always glaze another color over in the dog. So let's say if the blue, the water has a bit of a more of a turquoise look than the blue that's on the shadows on the dog, so you can always glaze that in, but I would definitely be painting them both at the same time and altering it a bit. Okay, unified. One of the best ways to unify things is to repeat colors around. So, so you will really want the same browns somehow present in the sand and in his ears and his face, wherever, his collar, whatever. But it has to be in both. And then same with the water. So yeah, so in your case, a very good question. In your case, I would probably paint them together.
Okay.
Okay. And just looking at this, yeah, I would really be planning on doing glazing colors. You have so many soft colors in there, where let's say, like those two, like for instance, if you look at just his back and his shoulders there, and take first of all the whole area. Okay, I would probably first, I would sort of imagine it there's two main shapes of shadows in his shoulders, right? Do you notice that? The extreme left side, and then one almost kind of right down the center of his back there from the other shoulder. So you have those two main areas. Now those are darker, so you're gonna, they'll come later. So probably what I would do in this case, I would actually paint the whole thing first, including shadows, highlights, all of it, with a very, very, very light a glaze of nice transparent color, and go over the whole thing.
The whole painting or the whole dog?
Just like his shoulders up to the collar. You could even you could do his head. You could do the whole dog even. And get that highlight established, and it's a very watered down.
Yeah, I'm starting over because I did it yesterday, and I started. It was just too dark.
Yeah, it's so, very very easy to go too dark. See, and then you sort of have to respond to the image that you're doing, and then decide on the technique that you're going to use with it. And it's just what I feel when I look at this piece, compared to how I'm going to approach my little badger here. When I look at yours, I would just start with a very watery highlight and go over the whole thing. Wait till that's completely dry. Then I would bring in, I might even take that exact same color, add some more pigment to it. Okay, so it's not so watery now. And then I would now go in a second layer and then paint in the next value, and then go over all the dark values again, but stay away from the lightest highlights, and you don't touch those. Does that make sense? And then you now do it again. So each shape. So now your shape, your first one was the whole dog. Your next one is going to be smaller shape now, because now you're not touching those extreme highlights. And then you could wait for that to dry, and then you might, and you know, and at the same time you're doing this with the sand. Okay. Don't try to, and when you paint that sand, you know, don't try and capture that exactly, you know, but you do, well, it's up to you. Do you feel the sand needs to be all rough and textury like that, you know, with like a million footprints? You know, you decide that, or you're like, no, actually I could just keep it smooth. I don't know. Depends on what you want to do, right? Decision you have to make.
Should I paint the sand the same color as the light first highlight of the dog?
I would. Eventually, in the end, you probably are going to end up with some different colors in your sand, because you have to have some contrast, right? You can't have your dog blending in.
Right. To me, they're very different colors. Like the dog is much more red and the sand is much more yellow.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, to keep unity, at least have some of the colors back and forth present.
Okay.
Not all of it. It doesn't have to be all, because then you don't have enough contrast, you know?
Right.
Like if you have them so different, it's so contrasting, they're just not going together, and you lose unity. You're always balancing between unity and variety, and you're always, it's like lean to one side, oh, starting to lean too far. It's like a balancing act, you know? You're always kind of leaning to one side or the other, and letting that develop, watching the painting appear. Okay. So many people dive in and are working on the finishing touches right away as soon as the brush hits the paper, and they don't work towards it. It'd be like someone who builds a house and decides they're not going to put up the framework before they start putting on the siding. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's sort of saying, you know, like, oh, I can't wait to, you know, I want this house with bright red siding. So they start nailing all this bright red siding together, but they haven't got the framework structure yet, and it's all going to fall apart. So you build up to it.
Okay. All right, thanks.
It's so much harder to do. This is where I'm like, I want to be there in person, you know, working, you know, and kind of showing you and stuff like that. That's where I'm getting used to this whole Zoom. So anyway, but yeah, so hopefully that'll help.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, so I'll go back to mine then. And again, and yeah, so just exactly that, guys. Just feel free to jump in with any questions that you have here. All right, I want to get my little brownish colors established right away. He has that little reddish pink, but I'm going to go with I always forget what color that is, whatever, umber or something like that. And my raw sienna, get that one in there. That's the problem with one of the problems about doing my palette this way is it's easy to forget what color this is. So later on when I have to buy some more to replace this. Okay, so there's my light. My reddish. And I'm going to get a few more blues in here. I got my little bit of purple, a little bit of light blue. Get that in there as well. And just realized we don't have Monique with us today. All right. Because it's already 8:45, I'm just going to go ahead and begin. I probably won't get too far today, but at least hopefully, you know, this will give you guys an idea on just how do I begin here. So again, of course, I'm going to start light. So you'll see when I first lay in these stripes, they're not going to be near dark enough yet. Okay, as I was explaining to Mary Beth, don't layering just has wonderful qualities to it. And trying to avoid that is really shortchanging your art. Okay, so I'm going to probably work with this blue right now and my Payne's gray over here, and just get those laid in there. I might drop in just a bit of the pink. Actually, let me get that ready to go first too here. But you'll see my first colors here are going to be quite pale. They're not going to be very bold and rich yet. That's not going to come till later, because I'm going to be using a lot more layering in this painting. You've got to be patient. All right. So I'm going to start off with this Payne's gray. I don't have any masking with me. Oh, always make sure you have your tissue ready right away. Almost forgot that. Have that tissue ready to go, because in case you need to do this quick lifting, you don't want to be scrambling looking for it while your paint is drying faster than you can. I'm going to have to paint around that little bright highlight, or I can do like I mentioned there earlier and go back to that. This is already fairly dark. So as that, I've already added some more water to that. And as I said, I have to have this tissue because I really want that highlight to stand out. So I'm already lifting some of that out right away. And lay that in there. I want to get it a little bit bluer. Again, that's really my preference. I love sneaking colors in wherever I can. And I'm going to sneak in just a drop. Oh, that's a bit much. Don't want to overpower it. No need to fret. And just lift it out. Lift it right back out of there. Okay? So let me just, the lighting changes. So you can see that will have to go darker later on. But I want to keep that nice and light. And I'm going to even do the other stripe on his left side. I know you guys can't see the picture I'm looking at, but if you could, you would see that the left stripe is, because it's in the shadow, is much darker than the one on the right. But I can always put that in afterwards. There's no need to do it right away, because I want these two stripes to feel unified. They should actually feel like they are the same color in reality, because they are. It's only the way the light is hitting it that's making the one appear darker than the other. But I have to be careful I don't use the unity. So I'm going to bring some of the blue in again and use all my same colors to keep them unified, even though there's less blue. And in the end, there's probably going to be even less blue showing. But very important that I have that unity. Okay, so here's my two stripes. I've done my best to try and capture the shape of them, the feel. And now I'm going to look around to his back, his nose. Where else can I bring that color into my painting? Okay. And I'm going to bring it into his nose. The nose doesn't have a lot of blue, so I'm going to avoid, I'm not going to use blue this time. That's okay. But I am going to use this Payne's gray, this nice light Payne's gray. I want to keep that really light there. So I'm going to lift that out right away at the top. And it really has a pink feel to it. It's much warmer. Lift it out right away because it's a little dominant. And I'm just going to leave that alone. And this clearly needs to be much darker. but I want to wait for that to dry, I think. Although I do want a soft edge. No, I think, yeah, I'm gonna wait for that to dry. I'm just gonna leave as is. And let's move on to where else. Back my angle away. Okay, so now I am going to be doing a bigger area, so I need a much bigger brush. So I'm going to switch to a larger brush. And
So for me, like, I'll show you guys.
where did you go? Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay, where are we here?
So
okay. Oh,
that's,
wow. Can you, I don't know if you're able to turn your camera, because right now I'm having to look at your duck sideways. There we go. Okay, now lift it up a little bit and then try and rest your elbows or something and hold that as still as possible.
So cute.
Elizabeth, that is incredible. It's beautiful. Lift it up a little more. You're getting so close. There you go. Yeah, hold it away. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anyone can just stop and take a look at what she's done here. Okay, so few wonderful things to point out. Okay, it's so nice and soft. Oh, your colors are draining on you. I don't know if you can lay it down and angle your camera instead. If you can do that. Yeah, I don't want you to ruin your piece. Okay, so I've seen it enough or whatever. It looks like they're running. Maybe they're not. You've worked wet and wet, and that is a really good decision, because one of the aspects, the essence of your little goose or duck there is that softness, right? And so you've totally captured that. If you can flip your camera again, so I can see the piece, and the others can see it too as I'm talking about it. Okay, so that's a nasty shot. There we go. Okay, just hold it right there. Okay, and everyone take a look at what she has so cleverly done. See that yellow? That's exactly what I was talking about, is that yellow that is present in the feathers. She has it happening there, and then she has it happening again on the underside, and then there's one little hint of it in the beak over there. In the top, you can't see it as much as you could see it earlier, is she's managed to get it in there. And then you've got the same thing happening with a little bit of pink there. You have this, and it's in the legs, and then your shadow, your little cat's shadow, you cleverly use, looks like you use the same colors. And so that's totally working. Wow. Oh, Elizabeth, this is like, it's like I'm imagining like some fun story, like some fun kid's story. That's, yeah, where you've captured the essence of your little goose here. There's a whole story behind him. So, and the other part I'd want to point out, and anyone else who can see that, is in that feathers on the right hand side, there's this one area where there's that dark that moves in. It kind of makes this, it curves up to the left, and there's a wonderful hard edge shape there. The shape is interesting. It's drawing attention to it. So we come to this area. It's kind of a secondary point of interest. And it just, because it's gotten darker, we can feel that side, it's created depth. That side of the goose is heading back. And then, but still she's kept a predominant amount of interest with the use of her line. By the way, your line work is wonderful. So this is what I was talking about as well when I said the line is important. Elizabeth has captured this wonderful line work. Notice her line changes thickness. It gets bolder in areas, and then it thins out in some other areas. And that's just really, really good. So I actually, Elizabeth, I do have to say, I wish you would have left out some of the detail on his feet, because my eyes keep getting drawn down to the feet, because you put actually more detail in his feet than in his face. So it would have helped to have lessened the detail in his feet, so then I can keep focusing on his face where the interest is. But just beautiful gradation happening in the bill. Oh my goodness, wonderful. Yeah. But I don't even know. I forgot what was your question about it. I just started raving about it, but you had a specific question, I think.
Oh no, just cause like the picture that I was looking at, like the colors were a little bit like darker, and I was just wondering like if you have it really light at first, like how do you go in and like make it darker without screwing up what you already kind of done?
Yeah. If I'm personally feeling it's not necessary, like right away I look at this and I imagine this is one of those white geese or ducks, duck, goose, whatever, but it's white, right?
But I was just wondering like if you like wanted to do that, like make something like a little bit darker or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so in this case, if you want to go darker, what I would do, because this is actually a white duck, and because you really have to be careful you don't go too dark, okay? You can actually use the exact same wash, that light wash, and if you put a second layer of it on, it will now get twice as dark. Does that make sense? Because you now have 2 layers of it. Does that make sense? And if you let that dry and you could put on a third one, and then it will keep slowly, gradually getting darker and darker. So often we think, oh, I need to make it darker, therefore I have to darken my paint. You can achieve, that's one way to do it. So you can, so 5 layers of light paint could equal 1 layer of a darker paint. Does that make sense?
okay, yeah.
Okay. And it depends on your image, on how dark you need to get, and how much contrast do you want. If you might have a painting where it needs a lot of contrast, and you may have to just simply get your colors really bold and rich. Like a couple of classes ago, that's what I was talking about with our landscapes. Get those nice rich colors. But in this case, you want that subtle pale pastel, but you've got so much beautiful variety happening, so much color happening. I mean, think about that. That's a white duck, right? Goose, whatever. Like in reality, if we saw him, we'd say, oh, he's a white goose, right? But look at all the color you've got in there. You've got yellow, you've got blue. I saw a little bit of pink, and beautiful. And yet I look at it and it's a white duck. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. So you nailed it. You nailed it. Oh, that's so cool. That's exciting.
I did another one too.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. Wow, this one's hard to.
Yeah, so if you can sort of set it in the shape. Yeah. I love this. I love this sort of thing. This is, yeah, these are, did you do these after you did your different shapes? Remember the cone and the sphere and?
I just did this one at the beginning when you were talking.
Oh, just now today? Okay. Yeah, because this is really good, because the one thing I ran out of time and I couldn't comment on your cube and your cone and the one main comment I was going to have is that you actually did not have enough contrast happening in those. Your highlights and your shadows were almost the exact same value, the same light and dark, but you've already totally overcome that with this. And look, that, oh my goodness, that left area, that reddish, yellowish, orangish on the left-hand side of the camera is, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a word, but it's just, it's working. That's all I'll say. You've taken, this is what's happened. You've taken a camera sitting there, which is, let's be honest, truly not that exciting, and you've turned it into something that's really captivating. And that's a huge challenge. That's one thing, actually, when I would work with my advanced students in school, I would have them specifically have to pick a boring object and now make this boring object into something captivating. Okay. And that's really what you're trying to do as an artist. Okay. And you've done that here. I love it.
I just wanted to do a quick interjection, is that I feel like she gave the camera personality, like
yes.
a character now.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, if anything, you could, on that one, Elizabeth, you could maybe if you want to, you could glaze some in the dark areas and just get a little bit more contrast, maybe in the black parts, those grayish parts. Don't use black paint. Don't jump in with black paint, but just take that same color. Look for the areas where is it darkest in my. Were you looking at a photograph or an actual camera or?
I was looking at a photo, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So take a look at the photo. Look for, are there areas that are really, really dark? And you could, I'd have to see the photo to sort of see, could you pull it there? But don't touch that left-hand side with the yellow, orange, and red. That's spectacular. Yeah. That's so exciting. So exciting to see. All right. Oh my goodness, it's 9 o'clock. So we can, you guys can keep on going with these. Maybe what I will do is, I didn't get real far on my, what's going on there we go. I didn't get real far in my little badger here. So, oops, where'd he go? Looking for my little badger, trying to get it up on the screen. There you go. Okay, so I didn't get real far in my little badger. That's okay. You can still see. Yeah, I'm pleased with the start. Some subtle things happening there already. That left-hand side's going to get a little bit darker. Maybe what I'll do here a second is I'll just share my screen. So you can, unless, stop share. There we go. Okay, no, I'm not going to bother and wasting so much time. So, but my next thing I'm going to do is, where did he go? I've lost my little badger here. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is work on the back area with this same color. I'll bring it down into here and get all those darks established. So maybe I'll work on this week if I have time and record it. Try not to make it too long, and then at least record a little bit, and then you can look at it as well. So
that sounds good, Rick. I'd love to watch a painting later. Well, I'm not trying to paint at the same time. It's kind of hard to take it all in.
Yeah, I know. And so, yeah, so it was probably good that we recorded this, right? And then and then you can just, if you want, to skip past all the talking and get to the part where I'm actually painting it. So, looks like Katie disappeared, lost her camera or something like that. So, but it is 9 o'clock, and I've ended up hardly making it to so many of these other meetings. So I'm just going to stop the recording here while I finish